Up and on.
Meow.
Oh, I forgot to slide in all cool.
Come on, that's 2 days in a row, Parker. You did it once. He said it was gonna be your thing, and now it's not your thing.
You did come in with a cool little riff, though.
You're no Chris Collinsworth. That's all I know. You know,
you're not. You cannot ever. The goat of the slide.
Yeah. I can't amount. But welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Blue Review. I see everyone already in the chat. Great to have you here. Of course, you know we're here on the Blue Review every day from 9:30 to 9:55, reacting to all Dodgers news, all Dodgers games. So just come on in and react. Spend time in the chat. Talk to us. Ask questions. We'll react. I said react like 6 times there, but
say it one more
how are
time.
we doing after that? Yeah, how about we react? How about react to last night? Goodness gracious, what a game. The Phillies take the season series. The NL West is closing in. Things are getting a little interesting, so we got a lot to talk about. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guest time. Tons of great stuff over there at our friends at LAX. Of course, preparing for that LA 28 as the Olympics are in full effect. We're all in that vibe. So if you want to learn more, find it out at flylax.com/transforminglAX. Marcus, Grant, welcome back. I know you were here, but just welcome.
I'm back in my own space now.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Back in your own.
It just feels right. Blue Review doesn't. If I don't have the cartoons behind you, the comics behind you, I feel weird.
Right.
It's nice. It's good to have you in your own
It's
zone.
good to be back. Obviously, last night, not great. I was watching it for the most part, and I see Gavin Stone gives up a couple of runs. That he gets pulled. At that point, I have to step away to go do bedtime with the kid. I come back. It's now 8-4. I sort of run back to see what happened. It was less than optimal, and I know we were in the text chain. Stone was doing fine up until he wasn't, right? He gave up the home run to start the game against Schwarber. Okay. But he settled in after that, right? He held them down for a pretty good amount. Then he gets to the 5th inning. Kind of hits a couple of speed bumps. And Greg, I think that's the concern right now, right? Is that we haven't gotten a complete start out of him really since the complete game shutout. I mean, since then it has been completely rocky for Gavin Stone. And while it looked like maybe he was putting it together last night, then all of a sudden he hits that rocky patch, and now we're back to sort of wondering, is this the Gavin Stone we're going to see for the rest of the year?
I think that's exactly what it is, and it's just too bad because he did start off the season so well. It was really nice to see a young guy like that come out and just throw gas and just be a really good pitcher. He's got it in him. He has the stuff. You can see that it's there because of what you just said too. He gave up the leadoff jack to Schwarber, who is massively on fire right now. Anything thrown to him is going out of the park. So he did settle down, but then by that 5th inning, he still can't get into the 5th inning. It's a problem. It's just something that he's not trustworthy at this time. I think he can get back to being that trustworthy person, Marcus, but right now he needs a rest, and he needs to probably find some kind of way to take some time off and go on an IL stretch, especially if you can bring somebody else around to come up and bring back Wrobleski, back Landon Knack, bring back some of these young guys that don't have a lot of innings on him, because Gavin Stone is not getting the job done right now. But I'll say this. I don't think the Dodgers lost last night because of Gavin Stone.
No.
First of all, they got to hit more. They got to get more. They got to score more runs. That's just the long and short of. They have to score more runs. That's 2 games in a row that they just completely, I was going to say the S word there, and I can't say that. the S word, the bed.
Right.
Those things are kind of a problem. But really, it is very much on. I never, ever, 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 ever blame umpires. But that game is on Hunter Wendelstedt at third base. That was a completely atrocious call at third base, and it completely changed the whole complexity of the game. Yeah. They were up 4-3. They would have had 1 out instead of runners on the corners with nobody out. Mm-hmm. The runs wouldn't have scored. There would have been a complete change in how this game was. You would have gotten out of the inning. There were so many different things that could have possibly happened. Instead, it all fell apart, and they went to 6. They ended up losing 8-4 because it was an absolute mess.
Yeah, it was awful, and what was funny about it. I mentioned this before the show. Seeing a couple of dueling tweets about it, right? So I saw one that was the call by Joe Davis and Jessica Mendoza.
Awful announcing? Is this awful announcing?
How they had the Joe Davis Jessica Mendoza call where Mendoza's saying like, I don't know what he can do. He's running to the base, like you're just naturally going to sort of be in the base path because he's trying to make a play. And then you had the Phillies announcers who were like, well, that's how Hunter Windelstead saw it. I mean,
it's on Hunter Windelstead. It's a judgment call,
which was totally like it reminded me of being a kid and playing a game with your friends, and like things don't go like like they go your way, and your friends are upset, and they're like, "That's totally unfair. It's cheating." You're like, "I don't know, man. That's just what the rules say. Like, I don't know. You just got to
go by the rules.
Got to respect the call of the officials. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's kind of what that felt like watching that.
Oh my God. That's exactly what it was, because I saw that exact tweet from Awful Announcing, and it was like, come on, guys, this is what you're going to say. This is what you're going to put out there. Can we have at least give me the MLB Network version of it where they could say Greg Amsinger being like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah. What else? I mean, Jess Mendoza hit it right on, like hit the nail on the head. What else was he supposed to do? And it's not. There really was. I get his foot touched Miguel Rojas. Was it Bohm? I get Bohm's foot touched Miguel Rojas's foot on the way over, but I mean, he's just getting to the bag, and he was actively getting out of the way as well, which was my key point. Was he was literally shuffling out of the way. You saw him move his back left foot in like a backwards motion to get out of the way, and it's just a ridiculous call.
And the fact that it can't be reviewed too is also ridiculous to me. If you're going to have review, if the review is going to be a part of your game, calls like that have to be able to be reviewed. But the fact is, he was not standing. He wasn't impeding him. There wasn't interference because he wasn't standing there waiting for the ball and being like, nope, you can't come here. He was coming across. He came from shortstop.
Right.
At the same time, it wasn't the third base. It was Miguel Rojas, the shortstop. He had to come across and help out to get there. It was just a horrendous call that actually changed the whole game. That was one of the things that is you cannot say it any other way.
Yeah,
that was the reason. And unfortunately, umpires shouldn't ever be to blame for all this stuff. But that was fully on Hunter Windelstead. So he's not just bad behind the plate, where he's horrendous too.
Would he be considered a nepo baby amongst umpires?
Yeah, I guess so, because his
dad was Harry.
Yeah,
Windelstead,
Harry
right?
Windelstead. Yeah, and he was also so very much.
I mean, his family literally teaches umpires.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Like the irony in that.
Yeah,
yeah.
So he absolutely is a nepo baby when it comes to Major League umpires. So look, obviously that call completely changed the complexion of the game. Although at some point, if you are Joe Kelly, I mean, you have to sort of figure out how to limit the damage there as much as
100%.
possible too.
100%.
Like, here you throw the wild pitch that allows a run to score, then you give up the home run. Like at some point too, like it was a bad call, obviously, but your job as the pitcher in that situation is to kind of shake that off and figure out how to limit the damage. All of a sudden, though, you look up and the team is down 4 runs. That's a problem.
Yeah. No, the Joe Kelly experience is exactly this. It is sometimes when he's in the strike zone, 100 miles an hour, using the slider, the off-speed pitches, and he's just keeping you off balance, and he's really, really, really good. When he's not good, he is just absolutely awful, wild, all over the place. It is very much the Joe Kelly experience, and last night was the bad Joe Kelly. I don't know if that's a guy that you can really trust to be the dude in the off season because of that. Which one are we going to get on a night-to-night basis? You need a little bit more of, okay, I'm going to get 6 good Joe Kellys and 1 bad Joe Kelly. I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
When it's 1 good, 1 bad, 2 good, 3 bad, like that's when it starts to be like, okay, I don't know if this is the guy for us moving down the stretch.
At what point does Michael Kopech start to get some of these higher leverage innings?
I think that's coming. I honestly think that's coming. He has now had 13 batters, has gotten 12 outs, and has 6 strikeouts. The dude has been pitching so well that it just at this point you have to start giving him bigger opportunities, because they didn't know who he was and like who he's going to be, but he is just a totally different pitcher now here in LA.
Yeah, and he looks good in that Dodger blue too. What did you think of Grove, Marcus? Seeing him out there again, it was an interesting spot they put him in, but he showed some good stuff.
Yeah, he showed some good stuff. I mean, obviously he gives up the home run to Schwarber, which apparently nobody can get Kyle Schwarber out.
Yeah,
so
at this point,
I
Kyle,
guess it's hard to like put it on Grove because nobody's getting Kyle Schwarber out this week.
Right.
But no, it's nice to see him back out there because, again, we had Doug McCain on yesterday. That was one of the things that we were asking about is who can give them length out of the bullpen, and Grove potentially is a guy who can give them that length out of the bullpen because, right now with the starters generally struggling to get through 5, you're going to need somebody that can come out there and do that. Obviously, the way the postseason has gone for this team the last few years, having a middle reliever who can give you 2 or 3 innings is going to be important. So just to see him kind of get back out there to shake off the rust, especially at that point in a situation where the game had kind of gotten away from them a little bit, just to see him get some innings, get some work in, that was encouraging. So hopefully this is, starts to turn things over and be some positive things. The other part of it, Greg, is now maybe Brusdar Graterol isn't gone for the season.
Is this just a joke that Doc is playing on us now? I think this is just something every time.
I think the joke is that we call him Doc, right? And he's giving medical advice.
Yeah, exactly. Every time he comes out with a prognostication, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of what he says. So it's like I just don't know if he's doing it on purpose or what the whole point of it, whatever it happens to be. Great news. It's not a grade 3. It's a grade 1. We may actually see Brusdar coming back. That's a really good thing because as you see in this bullpen, there's trouble there. We need to try and get these guys some healthy. I did like Michael Grove in there. Of course, you're right. It's not about Kyle Schwarber because he's had 4 home runs in 24 hours. Right. So he's just on fire. But the fact of the matter is, I still don't know. And we talked about it yesterday also, we don't know if Grove can be a 2-3 inning pitcher. He's probably a 1 inning pitcher. And that's kind of where it starts to get a little bit interesting. I would just wonder at what point do you start moving either River Ryan or Justin Robleski and bring them up and having, or at least in AAA, using them as long relievers in AAA to have them ready to be long relievers in the postseason, because they're not going to be starters. Obviously, it doesn't mean that they won't be starters moving forward into next season. But what is necessary and needed now is for them to be long relievers, just like Michael Grove did this last year, but he just stayed. I feel like that could be something that happens with those guys as well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it depends on, who's back and available in those starting slots, right? I mean, look, Glasnow's last start was a good one. Jack Flaherty's only start with the Dodgers was a really, really good one. They're hoping that Yamamoto is going to be back soon. So in theory, if those guys are healthy and pitching well, those are your guys in some order in the playoffs. So then that means you can take a guy like Gavin Stone if he can sort of get himself right and put him in the bullpen. You have River Ryan and Justin Robleski who can go in the bullpen. So I think once they get a better handle on who their frontline guys are going to be, I think that helps them sort of figure out what those bullpen spots look like.
Yeah, Parker?
No, I mean, it's interesting. I see the chat, Bergie, agreeing with you and really hopping on the Berg
first time
train.
for everything.
Yeah. Saying, look at Berg making these more logical decisions than Doc at the moment. It's time to do something different, and why not put those guys in those situations down there in the minors so that they can get used to it, and then give them a whole little month to kind of ramp up doing it here in the majors, because obviously we don't have a full bullpen right now. There's still injuries that they're dealing with, and if River Ryan or Robleski can show, it just takes one of them. Takes one of them to be that like extended relief guy. So if they can show that they got it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And hopefully they start to do those things. I feel like Andrew Friedman is a type of guy that is thinking very, very far in advance, and that hopefully is thinking about these things. He usually is. So hopefully that's what's going to be happening. But there needs to be something. This team needs to figure out what happens in case of emergency, because in case of what's been happening the last couple of years in the postseason, when you feel like Clayton Kershaw is going to go out and give you at least 4 and he goes 1, or Bobby Miller you think is going to go at least 5 and he goes 1. You need there's in those situations you need to have these long relievers, and that's why.
I mean, in case of emergency has been happening every year. Like emergency has become the standard in the postseason. So at this point, it's just planning for what has been
right
now.
So to that point, how much of this season and how much of like the Dodgers' fortunes are tied to honestly one name, Yamamoto. His return, how much do you feel is like that's really the Dodgers' success now that you can see Glasnow and Flaherty probably being the solid guys who could go 6-7 innings in a playoff game?
So for me, and I don't know about you, Marcus, but for me, I think Yamamoto would make a massive difference and could really push you into the World Series and move forward. I don't think it is the end all be all if he comes back or not. I obviously with him there, it changes your entire rotation and makes it so that you have 3 really good dudes in the front end of that lineup, the rotation. But if he's not there, you can cobble pieces together to get a win here or there. I think the biggest name of all of this is what we're seeing is Mookie Betts and what he looks like when he comes back on Monday. I know that's probably a little bit of a cop-out answer because he's Mookie Betts, but the fact is with Mookie Betts on this lineup, it lengthens your lineup. It adds more speed. It adds more defense. It adds everything that you need. And I think that right now, if it kind of feels like Shohei, even though Freddie's back and Teoscar's playing really well and Gavin's hitting, it still kind of feels like Shohei feels that he needs to carry the team and he's starting to slump a little bit. So I think when Mookie comes back, that can kind of take a little bit, give him a little bit of we have
Right.
another guy here that is going to be on the same level. So it will add more offense. It will add more run support. I feel that he's the guy that, because if you're only scoring 4 runs, 4 runs should get you a win every single time. But with Mookie, if you can push that up to 5 or 6 a game, it changes everything.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that Yamamoto is like the necessary lockdown name. It's a huge help, no doubt about it. I would say maybe the biggest name could be Max Muncy, just because, look, we were always expecting Mookie Betts was going to come back. You know, he's just kind of counting the days until. But I mean, let's be honest. As of 2 weeks ago, even, we were all sort of the opinion that we might not see Max Muncy again this year. It just felt like everything was going really slowly. He was not able to get healthy. Now, all of a sudden, not only is he back in, he's back on the field, like he's starting a rehab assignment really soon. So suddenly it looks like he's back in that lineup. So then, once he's back, you're looking at, Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, Will Smith, Teoscar, and Muncy. So now you've got a solid 6 guys in that lineup. Throw in the facts that Gavin Lux is hitting well, that Kiké is starting to hit the ball better. Now you've got 8 guys in that lineup that are pretty tough outs, and it's looking like the lineup we were expecting to see most of the year. It's like what we saw in South Korea at the start of the season. So I think Max Muncy is a huge pivot point for this team if he's able to come back. And look, I expect that it's going to take him a week or 2 to kind of get his stroke back, probably even longer, right? To get his stroke back after missing this much time. But just knowing he's back in that lineup to kind of support everybody else. And if you're an opposing pitcher, you don't just get to exhale after the top 3 or 4 guys are done. I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah. And you really hope to see Will Smith break out of that slump. And he might be another one of those guys who starts to see better pitches once you get, like you said, Greg, Mookie back in the lineup. Because at the moment, they're pitching him like he's the cleanup guy, and it's been tough for him recently. And of course, obviously, he's also in his own head a little bit, but you would like to see him get out of that, and that would be another huge bump. But how big has Gavin Lux been? I mean,
enormous.
Generally, he's like one of the top 10 hitters in the league since the All-Star break. It's ridiculous.
He has been absolutely fantastic, and there's just nothing more you can say about it. Every single time he's out there, he's making diving plays at second base. He's playing an above average second base. He still messes up here or there, but you can kind of forgive him for that. The fact of the matter is you need him. You need him right now, and he needs it. I do wonder, and I know we've heard Travis say it on Travis and Sliwa, which you're going to listen to them next. He says a lot, is he a hot hitter or is he now a good hitter? I'm leaning towards he's now back to being a good hitter. He is at that point. It's just been too much for too long where he's getting, and the slug is up. He's not hitting home runs, but he's getting doubles. The fact is that he's just not that singles hitter anymore. I feel very, very good about him. So over the last 30 days, just because I put it up for that, he's 25 of 65 with 6 doubles. Has an 1123 OPS. Like that's his on base percentage is 461. That's over the last 30 days. So he's just getting on base, and that's always what we wanted from Gavin. Is like your goal this year is get on base.
Mhm.
Just provide more reasons for guys that are coming up behind you or getting it back to the top of the lineup to bring you in. And he's doing just that. And he's also doing it. He's bringing people in. You know, over the last 30 days, he has the second most RBIs on the team.
Yeah.
Wow.
About 15 or so, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And 26 hits.
Yeah, and 20. Yeah, Shohei has 16 RBIs. Gavin Lux has 15 RBIs over the last 30 days. So that's just showing you he's also driving in runs. He's been absolutely fantastic, and I'll completely admit it. He is proving me wrong at this point because I always thought he was just the guy. If he can stay like this for the rest of the season, I don't need him to hit 400. I need him to hit 300, 320 for the rest of the year. Completely will prove me wrong.
I mean, I think, Parker, you mentioned Will Smith sort of being in his head. I think that's what helped Gavin Lux. He kind of got out of his own head a little bit. I mean, I think one of the stats I saw, and I don't remember it exactly, but basically his whiff rate, his swing and miss rate has sort of gone up, but along with it, he's just trying to drive the ball now. And it's like I don't think he's worried as much about just putting it in play. He's just locking in on a couple of pitches he wants, and he's figuring out how to drive them. And I think that has been a big difference. I mean, I know one of the things you complained about, Greg, with him is that there was no slug. It was just a collection of singles. And I think now that he's just more committed to let's just drive the baseball. He's getting that slug, and it's, he's still hitting singles, but it's also translating into extra base hits and just getting on base. So I just think the way he's changed his mentality has helped a lot. Oh, by the way, Kiké Hernandez can see now. Did you hear that story last night? He's wearing glasses. He can see now.
His whole career, apparently.
His whole career, apparently, he's been playing sort of blind. What's happening here?
I missed the story. No, tell me.
He's been wearing these glasses now the last couple of weeks or something like that, and he's saying he is seeing now better than he ever has in his career, and he's sort of wondering have I been kind of playing blind a little bit to this point in his career? He credits that for his resurgence at the plate, that now he can actually see the baseball, which is sort of amazing.
Well, when you're playing baseball, you kind of want to see the baseball, said baseball,
hit ball,
Well, maybe he's just going about his whole life I guess the world's just slightly blurry.
Bigfoot is blurry.
Yeah. No, that's amazing just to see that he's been hitting, and it directly correlates with since he's put the glasses on. So we now have Gavin Lux, who's almost officially gotten over his mental, hump with his surgically repaired knee. And now you have Kiké, who's, I guess, over his blindness. Yeah. So now we're just waiting on Mookie, Muncy, come back. And when you get these Dodgers at full strength, I get that there's some panic. The NL West is catching up. 3-game lead, is it?
3-game lead. Yeah.
Yeah. Over two different teams.
Yeah.
If you don't get these guys back soon, Mookie's coming back supposedly Monday or Tuesday. It looks like it's going to be Monday because he's not doing any rehab starts. He's just going to have sim games. But it seems like if everybody comes back, that 3 games, if they don't come back, that 3 games is very, very worrisome. Mm-hmm. Once you get everybody healthy and back, and it seems in the next couple of weeks that's all going to happen, I'm pretty confident they'll stay at the top.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Although here's the thing, and we've said this before, maybe this is good. Maybe they need to be pushed a little bit.
Absolutely.
They need to have games in September that matter, as opposed to basically, being on cruise control after Labor Day. So maybe this is a silver lining here.
Yeah, it's one of those things. How are you going to know who will perform in the playoffs? In terms of we were talking about those relief guys, those closers, who's going to be the guy? We'll figure that out if we have some close games and important games in September. So I agree with you guys both. This could be a beneficial thing, and the Dodgers haven't seen that in a while since, what was it, the race with the Giants a couple years back, maybe 3-4 years back at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And the Dodgers are going to be taking on the Pirates today, so we'll get a little more action. And
is it today or tomorrow? I think it's Friday.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the Pirates are still in San Diego one more day.
That's right. So they're going to be hanging out with the AL Central for
Go Pirates.
a week.
You know what there is today, though? And
NL
Marcus should very know what's going on today. There's football today.
There is football today. Football,
multiple.
There is football-like substance. That's how I refer to it.
Right. There is a part of a quarter.
Yeah, it's you get Impossible Burgers. This is like Impossible Football. It's kind of football, but not really.
Jeez. Yeah. Lots of sports turning around. We got a lot going on. Stay here with Travis and Sliwa. They're going to get into all of it. But of course, we'll be back here on the Blue Review tomorrow to talk all things Dodgers. Hopefully we'll get a special guest. We'll put it out on social media. And of course, stay tuned for that. So, but other than that, great episode, guys. Marcus Grant, thank you for being here. Greg Bergman, thank you for being here. Producer DeAndre, shout out to you.
Producer
for
D.
helping out. And this has been the Blue Review. Shout out to LAX. I've been Parker Bell, and we'll see you tomorrow. 9:30, 9:55, baby.